Welcome to EPG Pathashala. My name is Dugirala Vasanta. I am on the teaching faculty of Department of Linguistics at Osmania University, Hyderabad. I'll be talking today about course 10, Psychoneurolinguistics, module 25 on semantic dementia. The objective of today's lecture is to talk about the nature of human memory and focus on semantic memory and how this semantic memory breaks down in the case of semantic dementia, and explain little bit about the neural basis for semantic dementia. Dementia is a very general term. Dementias can affect memory, attention, behavior and language. So, with the neurologist diagnose somebody is having dementia when there is non-focal, progressive neurological disorder affecting brain structures and their function. These are some of the different types of dementias: frontotemporal dementia, FTD, semantic dementia, SD, which is a variant of FTD. It is one variant of frontotemporal dementia, corticobasal degeneration, subcortical dementia, Alzheimer's dementia, or senile dementia of Alzheimer's type, SDAT. Alzheimer's dementia is AD. In literature, you might find the word SDAT, which is basically Alzheimer's, but it is abbreviation for senile dementia of Alzheimer's type. The time the AD, that is Alzheimer's, was coined by Dr. Alois Alzheimer in 1906 to describe a 51-year-old patient whose problems included language deficits. But the focus of this module is semantic dementia. In semantic dementia, there is a progressive reduction of grey matter, especially in the temporal lobes. Initially, it starts in the left hemisphere and gradually it can spread into the right hemisphere. Also, parts of the medial temporal lobe can also be involved in semantic dementia. One of the characteristic features of semantic dementia is loss of word meaning, okay, both in production as well as comprehension. And also before going into details of what exactly happens in semantic dementia, we need to understand the different components of human memory, which is what we have shown in the picture that you will see on the screen. Notice that human memory has three major components. There is a sensory memory where information stays only for less than a second, and from sensory memory the next level is the short term memory where information can stay up to about a minute. After that you have the long term memory where information can stay the lifetime. That's why it's called long term memory. Now the long term memory has two major components. It's the explicit memory and the implicit memory. Declarative memory is all about memory concerning facts and events, and one aspect of this memory is episodic and the other aspect is semantic. So in semantic dementia, patients lose semantic memory, all about facts concerning concepts, and that's what happens in semantic memory. So look at the figure more carefully to understand these different components. So semantic dementia affects the semantic memory component of declarative memory, which is part of long term memory. Look at this, that explicit memory component of the long term memory, which is also referred to as declarative memory, which deals with facts and events, which is episodic memory, about autobiographical details like your birthday or your marriage day or the day you went to school and things like that. And the other component is the semantic memory. So it is a semantic memory which is damaged in semantic dementia. So what is semantic memory? This memory contains information about living or non-living things. This dichotomy is extremely important when we are discussing semantic dementia. We have knowledge about living things, non-living artifacts, man-made objects, knowledge about living things. The reason why they make this distinction is in cognitive neurology and neuropsychology, they have noted that knowledge about living things relies more on sensory perceptual information, okay, whereas knowledge about artifacts is based on function. All right. So, living things is about the color, the size and the shape and sensory perceptual information. Artifacts is all about what is it used for, like that. So, but whether they are living or non-living, man-made objects or whatever, they all belong to different semantic domains. So, let us look at, on the screen you are shown a picture of domains or fields, semantic fields. Whichever domain we talk about, it has three levels. Okay, there is the superordinate level, the first level, the top level. Okay, so things can be vehicles, furniture, or animals. So this is the superordinate level, and then there is a basic level in the middle. So if you say vehicle, basic level term is truck. If you say furniture, basic level is chair. If it is animal, basic level could be fish. Just an example I am giving. What about the last level? The third level is called subordinate level. So vehicle, at the subordinate level you have pickup truck. Furniture, subordinate level you can have kitchen chair. Animal, instead of fish, trout. If you actually specify the type of fish, that would be the subordinate level. So storing information at these levels and how it gets impaired is what we need to learn in order to understand the problems of semantic dementia. Also, even when you narrow down to one particular lexical item, what all do we know about that item? Let us take the example of cat, and you examine the figure shown on the screen called semantic network for cat. So cat is an animal, then you know something about mammals and vertebrates, and cat has fur, bear also has fur, but if you look at mammal, whale is also a mammal, but whale lives in water just like fish. So all these, look at the connections, these are concepts. Mammal is a concept, vertebrate is a concept, animal, and specific items like bear and fish and whale, and then water is another concept, and they are all connected, and we have an idea of what is what these connections are, and that is how we store that concept in our mind. So our knowledge about lexical items, which we receive from the world through vision, by watching, by hearing, by smelling, by moving, motor sensory, and by listening to verbal descriptions from other people around. This information about objects become one unitary representation, and it gets stored in our brain somewhere, right, in lexicon somewhere. In ST, such mentally stored lexical semantic representations lose their richness, they become sparse. That is what is ST is all about. In semantic dementia, the otherwise rich multi-modal information is obtained from all these modalities: vision, audition, olfaction, touch. So these multi-modal rich mental representations become sparse for some reason. How do you test for semantic dementia? You can use tests like category fluency. You give any category and ask them to name all the fruits they know, all furniture they know, all the animals they know, and fast, in 1 minute they have to name. You draw something and ask them to draw immediately, and then give some break, 15-20 minutes, half an hour later, from memory you ask them to draw that, and you see what happens. I will show you that picture little later on about the results of delayed drawing in the case of semantic dementia. Word picture matching, letter fluency. You say, I will give you three, okay, I will give you a letter F. You name anything you know about, any word that starts with F, quickly. I am looking at my stopwatch, name. Then you give A, name, S, say as many words which starts with A or S or F or whatever letter fluency, card sorting, digit span, visuospatial abilities, object space perception. So, these are all typical neuropsychological batteries that neurologists use to diagnose semantic dementia. But you might wonder at this point that how do you differentiate the problems of semantic dementia from old age problems? What about if when you grow old, do you automatically become semantic, do you acquire? Not quite. As one ages, one experiences changes in the way we are able to process language based information. There is some deficit, but it is not like semantic dementia, because there are no age differences in deciding when I flash a series of letters and I ask you, do you think this is a word in your language? 80-year-olds can say yes, even 15-year-olds can say. Lexical decision, there is no age difference, but they did find some age effects in word recognition. All right. Lexical decision is only being able to say is it a word or not a word, but what word is it, does it match this picture? So, when you make the task a little more difficult, some little bit of age effects are there, but they do not resemble the problems that semantic dementia patients experience. For instance, I came across a study of 70 to 90-year-old non-semantic dementia patients did exhibit some level of syntactic processing problems. That is, especially if the sentence that they are asked to understand and perform some action is very complex, and also there are very few semantic redundancy cues. So, in such cases older people exhibit some impairment in processing sentences, which is somewhat similar to the syntactic impairment that you note in semantic dementia patients. So, but patients with semantic dementia, their main problem is with lexical semantic representations. I told you it becomes sparse. In addition, there are two other key terms that you have to remember. Semantic dementia patients exhibit what are known as reverse concreteness effect. That is, very often most of us are able to identify concrete nouns better than abstract nouns. It's understood, there is logic in it, but semantic dementia patients show the opposite. They have problem with concrete nouns, they don't have problem with abstract nouns, and they also have what are known as typicality effects. Okay, what is typical about a particular animal, typical about a particular fruit. Okay, there are some problems with that. So, does it mean that semantic dementia is an acceleration of changes associated with normal aging? We do not know. This is a question that researchers are trying to address. What is this typicality effect that characterizes semantic dementia? To understand this, you need to look at the picture shown on the screen. Notice the patient was able to reproduce the picture of the hippopotamus relatively well few minutes after seeing it. But then after some amount of delay, when he was asked to recall and draw the picture again, he left out the typical characteristic, typical feature of hippopotamus, that is the horn on the head. Notice in the picture there is no horn. That is, after some time has elapsed, the patient was not able to recollect that very feature which is typical of hippopotamus. Alright, this is what is the typicality effect which you notice in semantic dementia patients. So, let us look at the next picture of the brain, and I said anterior temporal lobes are damaged because there is some evidence saying that anterior temporal lobes are involved in storing and of lexical items belonging to persons in one area, animals in another area, tools in another area. That is why you can have category specific damage in semantic dementia. In other words, some semantic dementia patients fail miserably in naming, recognizing animals. You show 10 different animals, every single animal they say cow. You show a monkey, they say it's cow, right? So you can have category specific damage in semantic dementia. Some other patients can have problems with tools, they can't recognize tools, okay. So in other words, there is the lesion site is the temporal lobe, anterior temporal lobe. And also I have mentioned that the other neural basis for semantic dementia is atrophy, shrinking of the cranium, I mean the outer part, like you can see in early semantic dementia, it starts in the anterior temporal lobe in the left hemisphere, but late semantic dementia, you see to your right, this is a it has spread into the other side also, both right and left hemisphere. The black part is the damaged part in a SD patient. A neuroimaging study, positron emission tomography study has revealed this damage. So what exactly is happening in semantic dementia is, there is more or less consensus that in semantic dementia there is a erosion of semantic memories that is not uniform across modalities. So they might have erosion of visual memories, they might have some of the auditory memories may be lost. So the modality specific loss of stored information of lexical semantic representations can be noted in these patients. It affects verbal semantics more than non-verbal semantics. This erosion results in pruning of concepts and concept boundaries. So there is one study done by a French scientist in 2010. In this, what they did was, this is a study of verb production during action naming, and all the patients were there are 5 semantic dementia patients and 17 control normal people, adults. They are all French speaking people, participants. They were shown video clips of lots of actions that are happening in the video. Participants have to name, use a verb to describe that action in French, right. Now the errors of semantic dementia patients reportedly contained huge portion of generic verbs, not specific verbs. Meaning if there is an action of somebody peeling an orange, you are required to say peel, right. Whereas the semantic dementia patient said remove. I am giving the English words corresponding to the French words because I do not know French, but remove is a general word, peel is a specific verb. They were only able to say remove but not peel an orange. There were some other abnormal responses. For instance, instead of peel, they said undress. You do not substitute peel with undress, especially if what is being shown is orange, right. So they also demonstrated lack of specificity of meaning representations as well as lack of semantic relatedness ability with respect to very commonly used verbs. I have also described 2 case studies from the Indian context, Telugu I think patients in the e-text, which reiterates this idea of how semantic dementia obliterates one's ability to use specific verbs. They are able to use general verbs but not specific verbs. And I think in the Telugu data, for instance, there are several verbs which describe the way you cut. The way you cut beans vertically, the way you slice will have one Telugu word. The way you chop a carrot into big blocks, you use another word. The way you break a thread, you have another word in Telugu. You have many verbs of breaking, cutting, tearing, all right. So I remember the semantic dementia patient we examined in Nizam's Institute for Medical Sciences here in Hyderabad. The patient was about 56-year-old, and all she could say was cut cheyu. That's it. No matter we showed nearly 60 videos. She kept repeating cut cheyu, cut cheyu, cut cheyu. All the verbs are lost. So, I suggest that you look at the e-text for discussion about this patient, semantic dementia in Telugu. To summarize this lecture, recall that we started with the definition of dementia, and then I went on into semantic dementia. After showing you the major components of human memory, we came down to that semantic dementia relates to one part of long-term memory, and that what happens in semantic memory is obliteration of the rich lexical semantic representations of living things or non-living things or actions or events from the world. And then I talked about neural basis for semantic dementia, especially drawing your attention to the deterioration or damage to anterior temporal lobe initially in the left hemisphere, but that shrinkage, also the atrophy spreads to right hemisphere also as the disease progresses. And I have talked briefly about neuropsychological tests with which neurologists diagnose semantic dementia, and also shared some information about how the mistakes semantic dementia patients make in naming verbs, action verbs. And there is some information in the e-text talking about how semantic dementia patients use general verbs as opposed to specific verbs, and this information is in relation to Telugu. I have not gone into details in this lecture, but I suggest you go back to the e-text to read the case history and the kind of mistakes the Telugu speaking semantic dementia patient made in describing videos of actions of cutting, breaking and tearing verbs. And also look at some of the readings that are listed in the e-text. Thank you.